Part 6. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 51. The battle for hegemony between the coalition forces and the allied forces has spread over a wide area. Each side occupies many territories and has naturally established more than one base. The base that Wang Ling came to was one of the smaller ones. Fortress walls were built around this base, leaving only 4 entrances and exits. The place where Wang Ling is one of the entrances. On both sides of this entrance, specially built sentry guns were built. This is the basic defense building on the coalition side. It is highly lethal to infantry and can also damage tanks to a certain extent. On both sides of the sentry gun, a magnetic storm coil was built. This kind of thing is much more lethal than a sentry gun. It releases electric current attacks from a long distance. It has the power of an absolute instant kill for infantry units. It is also quite destructive for tanks. If the magnetic explosion infantry is manually charged, then the power of the electric current released is simply terrifying. Wang Ling was used to seeing these 2 types of defense buildings in the game, so Wang Ling didn't find them surprising. However, in the Red Alert world, this was the first time Wang Ling saw them with his own eyes, and he couldn't help but feel a little surprised. When he stared at these 2 types of defensive buildings, grid-like health bars appeared above each of these buildings. However, what surprised Wang Ling was that the health bars of these 4 defensive buildings were not full. There was even a sentry gun with a health bar that was already red. Only the last bar was left. It was estimated that there would be some damage. It's time to explode. Wang Ling, who is familiar with this game, knows that the cost of repairing these buildings is not high, but the base in front of him cannot even repair defensive buildings. It seems that the economic situation of the base that Captain Ling Fei introduced him to is very poor. Bad times. Are you number 101 Wang Ling? Just as Wang Ling was observing these buildings, a 3-star elite soldier walked up inside the fortress wall. Wang Ling did not dare to make excuses, and quickly gave a military salute. Yes, sir, Wang Ling number 101 is here to report. The elite soldier had a gentle attitude. He stepped forward and patted Wang Ling on the shoulder. He smiled and said, "Okay, I finished the training in advance from the barracks with the rank of 1-star veteran and superior soldier. I was also appreciated by Captain Ling Fei recommended. This is unprecedented in the entire barracks." Wang Ling also responded politely, "Sir, I'm sorry, it's just a fluke." Not arrogant or impetuous, that's fine, the 3-star soldier nodded to Wang Ling. It seemed that he was more pleasing to Wang Ling. Stop being so polite, there are no such limitations here. I am Love's Colonel G's deputy, Prince Zhao. If you think highly of me, just call me Brother Zhao. Brother Zhao, Wang Ling did not refuse and shouted with a smile. This King Xiaoping, judging by his epaulets, is already a 2nd lieutenant. In addition, he is the deputy of a senior colonel. He must have a high status in this base, so there is no harm in being friends with him. That's right, Xiaoping Wang smiled, then turned around and led the way and said, "Don't stand there in a daze, I will show you around. If you are new here and are not familiar with this place, you should get familiar with it as soon as possible." Good. It just so happened that Wang Ling also needed a guide. Now that the 2nd lieutenant had spoken, Wang Ling was not polite. After crossing the fortress wall and walking into the base, Wang Ling vaguely seemed to feel a chilling atmosphere, which was completely different from the feeling in the barracks. Following Lieutenant Xiaoping Wang slowly wandering around the base, Wang Ling also saw a lot of new things. During this period, Xiaoping Wang kept introducing everything he saw to Wang Ling, but in fact Wang Ling had already cared about it in the game. After being familiar with this, I didn't take the introduction to Xiaoping Wang to heart at all, it just went in one ear and out the other. This base is not large in scale, and the facilities are not very complete. After walking through the base, Wang Ling scanned for a long time but did not see a combat laboratory. Instead, he saw a lot of patrolling mobilization soldiers and anti-aircraft infantry, and there were a few magnetic blast infantrymen shuttled around, and some soldiers walked around with police dogs. In addition to soldiers, there are more than 10 anti-aircraft tracked vehicles gathered in the base, and some Rhino tanks are parked in some places. This kind of tank is also the basic tank of the coalition. It has harder armor, stronger attack power, and is very practical. However, Wang Ling took a closer look and found that whether they were humanoid soldiers or tanks, many of the health bars were incomplete, and some were even red, looking like they were about to die. Not only these arms, but also the buildings. While walking, Wang Ling also saw many buildings with his own eyes, such as the central main base command post, as well as the magnetic energy reactor, or refinery, tank factory, radar, anti-aircraft gun, etc. on the side. These buildings, some of the displayed health bars are also dissatisfied, and even the radar is already in a semi-dead state. In addition, there are many open spaces with many pitted marks, as if they had been baptized by artillery fire. Wang Ling felt a little embarrassed when he saw it. After walking for a while, he couldn't help but ask, "Brother Zhao, what's going on in this base? Why are so many soldiers injured? There are also various buildings, why are they all there? Don't you want to repair it?" Across. When this issue was mentioned, King Xiaoping suddenly stopped and fell silent. Wang Ling was a little embarrassed, thinking that he had asked the wrong question, but Xiaoping Wang turned around again and explained with a sad expression, "Don't forget, this is a battlefield, and our base is not absolutely safe. We just had an enemy attack some time ago, and we used all our strength to destroy the enemy, but our own losses were also considerable." Wang Ling did not respond immediately. Just looking at the appearance of this base, you can tell how bad the situation here is. Second Lieutenant Zhao Mingwang was still talking, "If that's all, that's it. After all, this is a battlefield, and we are used to enemy attacks. However, the Allies have recently built a new type of tank. The shells fired are very effective against the tank. The armor is extremely destructive. We don't have enough funds to begin with, and they still want to hunt our mine carts in the wild. Our highly mobile Rhino tanks have also rushed to the rescue a few times, but they are no match for that kind of tank. A few shells will take care of it." It seems that these experiences are too humiliating. Zhao Pingwang gritted his teeth when describing it. "To tell you the truth, our current situation is very bad. All the mine carts have been smashed, and the entire base's capital chain has been damaged. It has been cut off, and the remaining funds used to make mine carts are not enough to cover the cost of one." Wang Ling twitched his lips. When he saw the appearance of the base, he knew that the situation here might not be very good, but he didn't expect that the base was now in such bad condition. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 52. Captain Lingfei, you just let me join the battlefield in advance. Why did you push me to such a poor base? At this moment, Wang Ling was complaining fiercely. He came here to gain points, but in such a headwind situation, he might not be able to perform well. As for Zhao Pingwang, who had reached the level of second lieutenant, his eyes were quite vicious. He could see Wang Ling's dissatisfaction at a glance. He smiled bitterly and patted Wang Ling on the shoulder, comforting him and said, "But you don't have to worry too much. We have already asked for help from other bases, and a fully loaded minecart will arrive in a while, and some soldiers will follow to replenish what we need in a timely manner." "I know, Brother Zhao." Wang Ling didn't complain for too long. A second lieutenant was willing to tell him this. What more could he ask for? After saying this, King Xiaoping continued to take Wang Ling and walked around the base at will. He also met many soldiers along the way. After seeing King Xiaoping, they all saluted. After passing by them, Wang Ling vaguely he seemed to hear this group of people still talking about his identity. However, Wang Ling had no intention of listening carefully. While walking, he was also thinking about something. After a while, he stopped Xiaoping Wang, "Brother Zhao. What's wrong, Wang Ling? I'm wondering, could the allied tanks you mentioned be tank killers?" Wang Ling guessed. Xiaoping Wang was a little confused. "Tank killer? Don't you know yet?" "I really don't know what the tank killer you are talking about is about." Tank killer is a special tank developed by the Allied forces. As the name suggests, it is specially designed to fight tanks. It is very lethal to tanks, Wang Ling explained based on his knowledge in the game. However, this kind of tank has a very serious drawback. "Oh? What are the disadvantages?" King Xiaoping's eyes lit up and he asked. Wang Ling replied, "Although this kind of tank killer is a natural enemy of tanks, its damage to buildings and infantry units is really limited. To fight against this kind of tank killer, unless the firepower is strong enough, you cannot use tanks to fight. You have to use infantry mass shoot with fire." "Really?" King Xiaoping beamed with joy when he heard this. "How do you know?" Wang Ling shook his head and refused to say anything clearly. He can't say that he knows it from the game. The whole world is a game, right? King Xiaoping did not force Wang Ling to explain, nor did he wait for him to say anything more. Wang Ling continued to suggest, in addition, war is actually about money. If there is no money in the base, there will be no guarantee. You can only rely on the supply assistance from other bases cannot quench the thirst of those nearby. Therefore, it is better to dismantle some buildings that are not necessary at this stage in exchange for money and make armed mining vehicles as soon as possible." "Well, what you said makes sense, but what can we sell now?" Prince Xiaoping stared at Wang Ling and responded to the suggestion just now. He no longer treated Wang Ling as an ordinary recruit. Wang Ling was not in a hurry, and analyzed, during war, defense facilities are very important. Ground defense facilities such as sentry guns and magnetic storm coils cannot be dismantled. The magnetic energy reactors that maintain power must also be retained, and other functional buildings must also be retained. Try not to move it, so after thinking about it, the only things that can be dismantled are those things. As he spoke, Wang Ling pointed at the anti-aircraft gun not far away from them. "This kind of thing has a good anti-aircraft effect, but the anti-aircraft crawler vehicle can also replace it at this stage. If you dismantle it and sell it for money, you can alleviate the urgent need, and also save some electricity." When playing this game, Wang Ling often encountered this situation. He repelled the enemy attacks, but his family also ran out of funds and was struggling. In this case, the source of funds becomes very important. However, the mine carts here are still polished, so we can only give up some things and make mine carts to accumulate funds. Anti-aircraft artillery, Xiaoping Wang picked his chin and seemed to be still thinking. However, he did not express anything. Instead, he continued to lead Wang Ling and speed up to a corner. There are nearly 30 conscripts stationed at this place. In Wang Ling's subconscious perception, most of these people are ordinary soldiers without ranks. Looking at the epaulets, the military rank is only private. There is only one one-star veteran. Like Wang Ling, he is also a first-class soldier. After being brought here, Zhao Mingwang said, "Captain Ling Fei's recommendation letter made it very clear, so you will still have the privileges you should have. They are members of the Eagle Squad. From today on, you will be the Eagle Squad. I'm the captain. I won't take you wandering around for now. Time waits for no one. I will tell Colonel Lovsky all the news of your arrival and the suggestions just now. I will leave it to him to make the decision. You will talk to you first. Let's get acquainted with the team members." "Okay." After Wang Ling responded, Xiaoping Wang turned around and left here, looking quite hasty. Wang Ling had already given him the suggestion. Wang Ling, who had just walked out of the barracks, had given him the suggestion. Wang Ling didn't want to worry too much about whether the superiors would adopt the suggestion. At this time, he had already focused his attention on the group of mobilized soldiers. He lowered his voice and said, "Hello, hello everyone." Wang Ling had never been a captain. He didn't understand the instructions given to new officers in the army when they took up their posts, so he planned to get along casually with these soldiers of the same rank. However, the result was somewhat beyond Wang Ling's expectation. None of the mobilized soldiers even wanted to pay attention to him. Even the one-star veteran glanced at him and said "cut," obviously showing great disdain. The postures of these mobilized soldiers are not to mention how indulgent they are. Some are sitting on the ground and using their Babisha submachine guns as crutches. Others are lying on the ground holding a small branch in their mouths, looking like ruffians. Some even nagging guessing game. Normally, this kind of idle look would be fine, but Wang Ling had just arrived, and when he saw it, he became a little angry. "Stand up." However, this group of people just turned their heads and glanced at him, and then continued to play their own way, not paying attention to him at all. "Show off your power." This group of mobilization soldiers from the Eagle Squad was clearly trying to intimidate the new captain. Wherever there are people, there is society, and the world of Red Alert is no exception. Wang Ling was so angry that he almost laughed, shook his head, and continued shouting, "Didn't you hear what I said? It's so noisy." This time someone finally spoke, but their attitude was very bad. "Who are you, and why are you ordering us?" "That's right. You're a newcomer. You want to be the captain right after you come out of the barracks. Where do you get this qualification? A guy who has some backdoor ways wants to be the captain? I'll knock you down." One person took the lead, and others started to make a fuss. The entire Eagle Squad was resisting his new captain. This made Wang Ling quite helpless. He had just left the barracks, and he was having troubles one after another. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 53. According to Wang Ling's impression, it's not entirely a bad thing if the soldiers become rebellious. At least if there are proud soldiers, their combat effectiveness will usually be good. However, if you go too far and are arrogant and conceited, and even your immediate boss does not look down on you, then it will be counterproductive and you will be like a little ruffian. This seems to be the situation Wang Ling is encountering now. Looking at the members of the Eagle Squad, Wang Ling also clicked his tongue. "You are not convinced of me, a newcomer, and think I am not qualified to be the captain? Then what are you protesting to me? Go find Love's Colonel G and Second Lieutenant Zhao Ping Wang." Hey. The one-star veteran smiled and walked out of the team to confront Wang Ling. "What, new guy, have you been on the battlefield? Have you seen the enemy? When you first come here, will you only use the colonel and second lieutenant to suppress us?" "That's right, newcomers, don't use the senior colonel to suppress us, we won't do this. New here, Eagle Squad is different from other squads. We just left the barracks and we don't recognize you as the captain." Others also responded. Wang Ling was so angry that he stared at the one-star veteran and asked playfully, "Who are you?" The one-star veteran snorted, "Sun Dehua, the original captain of the Eagle Squad, thanks to you, is now an ordinary member." Wang Ling was a little surprised when he heard this, feeling that it was Sun Dehua who was taking the lead to embarrass him. "I think so." A team leader who had done a good job was suddenly demoted and replaced by a man who had just come out of the barracks. Whoever this falls on would probably not be convinced. Even Wang Ling's level and military rank are not the same as his. Knowing the reason, there was a way to resolve the matter. Wang Ling smiled and asked, "So, you are not convinced that I took your position?" Huh, Sun Dehui didn't say anything, just snorted and acquiesced. Wang Ling continued, okay, let me convince you today. Other competitions are too troublesome, so let's compare whose fist is bigger. You can pick 10 people to attack me together. As long as I lose, I will get out immediately. On the other hand, if you lose, just obey my orders honestly. After being promoted to a 1-star veteran and injected with strengthening agents, Wang Ling is now quite confident in fighting. Sun Dehui was happy, and the others glanced at each other and laughed for a while. What, don't you dare! You're brave enough, you're a man, come and hit me. Wang Ling was not as angry as before, pointing at his face, provoking as if I just deserve a beating. Sun Dehui glared back and geared up, don't say we bully you. To deal with you, it doesn't take 10 people. I can do it myself. Wang Ling asked playfully, yourself? Will you default on your debt if you lose? I won't lose against you. Look at the punches. As he spoke, Sun Dehui swung his fists without any warning. But Wang Ling's reaction speed was much faster than him, and he caught his wrist in an impromptu move, and quickly punched Sun Dehui in the forehead with another punch. But just when his fist was less than 5 centimeters away from Sun Dehui, Wang Ling suddenly stopped, and the strong wind of the fist floated on the tips of Sun Dehui's hair. He was already merciful to Sun Dehui. According to the previous ring competition, Sun Dehui would probably be knocked unconscious directly with this punch. But Sun Dehui didn't appreciate it at all. He blinked, bypassed Wang Ling's punch, and hit Wang Ling in the stomach with a knee. Wang Ling didn't expect to be able to defeat him so quickly. He jumped back temporarily to avoid the knee collision, grabbed Sun Dehui's wrist and brought it towards his chest, and punched him again in mid-air. The corner of his mouth was slapped. Just like before, Wang Ling stopped again when his fist was less than 5 centimeters away from Sun Dehui. It seemed that because of 2 consecutive defeats, Sun Dehui not only did not give up, but became angry, gritted his teeth, bypassed the punch and attacked Wang Ling again. Snort. He was angry, and Wang Ling was not that good-tempered. He quickly punched Sun Dehui 1 step ahead of him, hitting the corner of Sun Dehui's mouth, causing Sun Dehui to spin around in the air and fall to the ground. After withdrawing his fist, Wang Lingke said, I've done it again and 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 again, and I've let you down twice in a row, and you're still not satisfied. Who asked you to give in? Sun Dehui still didn't appreciate it. After standing up, he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, then jumped up and kicked him sideways. Wang Ling didn't want to hold back any longer, so he turned around and kicked Sun Dehui forward with a tricky roundhouse kick, hitting Sun Dehui in the chest and sending him flying into the crowd of Eagle Team. He knocked down 5 or 6 people before he stopped. Brother Tiger! Brother Tiger! The others were startled and quickly stepped forward to help several people, including Sun Dehui, up. Wang Ling didn't hold back much in this kick. Now Sun Dehui was still holding his chest and coughing. It looked like he was in severe discomfort. Wang Ling put his hands behind his back and looked at them calmly. After Sun Dehui's breathing gradually became calmer, he said, now, do you want to continue fighting? Snort. Sun Dehui still stared and refused to speak. Although he lost the competition, it seemed that he was still unconvinced. Next to him, a mobilization soldier shouted, it's not enough to rely on your fists and kicks. You said before that you have to beat 10 of us, and we haven't finished yet. Really? Okay, just pick 10 of them and deal with them in one go. Wang Ling doesn't care if they are playing rogue. Since the fight has already begun, he will convince them all at once and for all. Why should a group of people from the province protest against him? Sun Dehe gritted his teeth. Okay, this is what you said. If one-on-one combat doesn't work, then there will be a group fight. Sun Dehe doesn't care about his face now. He adjusted his breathing, and then in front of Wang Ling, he selected 9 more capable ones and lined them up in a military marching stance. However, just as they shouted and were about to take action, a shout suddenly came from the distance. Hey, 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 what are you doing? Are you making trouble? He turned his head and looked, and it turned out that it was Second Lieutenant Xiaoping Wang running over from a distance. The status of King Xiaoping in this base is really not low. The people of Eagle Team are dissatisfied with Wang Ling, but they dare not resist Xiaoping. With such a disruptor coming, they can only stop immediately. Wang Ling curled his lips. If he missed this time, he might never have the chance to teach these guys a lesson in the future. After King Xiaoping ran over, he first nodded to Wang Ling, and then reprimanded the Eagle squad. He is your new captain, what have you done? You have the heart of a bear and the courage of a leopard. If you commit the following offense, dare to follow him. Did your captain take action? Wang Ling spread his hands, not wanting to defend them at all. The other soldiers did not dare to speak. Only Sun Dehe gave a military salute and then explained, Sir, this new captain is very good at boxing and kicking. We have obtained his consent to compete together. Discussion. King Xiaoping almost laughed after hearing this. Wang Ling, why are you so low-key? I have saved a few chapters in the past few days, 2 updates today. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 54. Wang Ling spread his hands. It's not that I want to keep a low profile, it's that they didn't give me much chance to speak. I wanted to beat them up in a high-profile manner, but you suddenly showed up and interrupted me temporarily. After hearing this, King Xiaoming was a little dumbfounded. You are obviously pretending to be a pig and trying to bully others. Wang Ling grinned and didn't explain any more. But King Xiaoping then looked at the group of Eagle Team, sneered, and said, Don't I know why you are so pissy? You are talking about a discussion, isn't it just that your position as captain has been pushed down, and you have deliberately given the king? Are you looking for trouble? Fortunately, I stopped you, otherwise you would have been beaten so badly that you would have no place to complain. Knowing Wang Ling's record, Xiaoping Wang was quite confident in Wang Ling's boxing and kicking skills. But Sun Dehe disagreed. Sir, you are a second lieutenant. We are convinced by everything you say, but if such a newcomer challenges 10 of us, how can we win? King Xiaoping looked at him as if he were a fool. He really had no choice but to say it here, it's also my fault. I was in a hurry to report before and didn't give you a proper introduction. Your new captain is named Wang Ling. Star veteran, a first-class soldier, once shot and killed 16 mysterious invading soldiers as a recruit in the barracks. Later, in the ring competition, he defeated 99 first-class soldiers who were about to enter the battlefield. The soldiers of the company were appreciated by Captain Ling Fei. They were ordered to join the battlefield in advance and came to us. As he spoke, King Xiaoping glanced at Wang Ling, but Wang Ling just shrugged his shoulders and didn't want to answer the question at all. After all, these achievements were achieved in the barracks. After leaving the barracks, Wang Ling didn't want to show off anymore. However, the members of the Eagle Squad were shocked after hearing this. They all looked at Wang Ling dumbfounded. The captain assigned to emotions was such a fierce person. Sun Dehe was no exception. He looked at Wang Ling with eyes full of disbelief. All the pride he had when facing Wang Ling was shattered at this moment. At this time, King Xiaoping asked at the right time, with such a record, don't you deserve to be your captain? As soon as the question came up, all the members of the Eagle Squad felt ashamed. After a short time, the former captain Sun Dehe gave Wang Ling a military salute. Captain. Others hurriedly followed suit. Although there were some twists and turns, Wang Ling, a new soldier who had just come out of the military camp, finally got recognition. Wang Ling did not put on any pretense as a captain, and returned the salute. Wang Ling, private, from now on the captain of the Eagle Squadron, please give me your advice. Ha ha ha, this is so cool. Zhao Pingwang smiled, waved his hand, dispersed the rest of the Eagle team, and pulled Wang Ling to a location alone. This place originally housed 2 anti-aircraft guns, but now, more than 10 people are dismantling them manually. They are very fast. When Wang Ling and the others came here, they had already dismantled half of them. In the game Red Alert, recycling buildings is very fast and can be completed almost immediately. However, in the world of Red Alert, it requires manual disassembly. This is also somewhat different from pure video games. Zhao Pingwang pointed to the 2 demolished anti-aircraft guns and explained, I have already reported your proposal to Colonel Lovsky, and the colonel immediately agreed and implemented it immediately. Wait. After selling the materials of these 2 anti-aircraft guns, we have enough funds to make an armed mining vehicle. Wang Ling nodded, we have mine carts, but we have to be careful not to be beaten to pieces by the opponent's tank killer. Although this tank killer is known as the nemesis of tanks, his usual style is really evil and he likes to stare. Fight with a minecart. Zhao Pingwang tilted his head, a little curious about why Wang Ling was so aware of the enemy's tanks, but in the end he didn't ask any questions. Instead, he led Wang Ling and continued walking forward for a while, when he saw a soldier holding a hand. The police dog came over. The police dogs in Red Alert are different from reality. This kind of police dog also has the power to instantly kill ordinary infantry units. However, under normal circumstances, the patrol dogs deployed in the base are mainly to prevent spies from mixing in. They can rely on their keen sense of smell to distinguish between ourselves and the enemy, and then actively bite and kill them. Seeing this police dog, Wang Ling also became interested. Brother Zhao, do these police dogs also need to be trained by specialized personnel? Zhao Pingwang replied, that's natural. Each one must be trained to have a strong wild nature to ensure its power when culling. At the same time, their sense of smell must be trained to distinguish between ourselves and the enemy. You have to know that on the Allied side, he likes to use spies to steal all kinds of information and even funds from us. There are no police dogs in the base, but it is absolutely impossible. When he said this again, King Xiaoping looked at Wang Ling specifically, as if he meant something. Wang Ling acted as if he didn't see it. Just then, the police dog arrived. Wang Ling stepped forward and squatted down, tentatively reaching out and touching the dog's head. The police dog was not hostile to Wang Ling. He just squatted down, closed his eyes and stuck out his tongue, panting, and seemed to be quite enjoying it. It's so cute. I feel itchy just looking at it. I really want to have one of my own, Wang Ling sighed from the bottom of his heart. Woof. But as soon as he finished speaking, the police dog suddenly changed its attitude and barked at Wang Ling. Wang Ling was so frightened that he jumped back and kept a distance from the police dog. At the same time, he looked at the police dog training officer with a puzzled expression. Member. The soldier also looked embarrassed and quickly explained, I'm sorry, this guy has a weird temper. He was very good 1 second, but he might bite me the next second. Wang Ling was a little dumbfounded and didn't want to talk about wanting one for the time being. Zhao Pingwang waved his hand and asked the breeder and the police dog to leave. This episode seemed accidental, but in fact it was deliberately done by Zhao Pingwang. Here, Wang Ling, who had just come out of the barracks, knew so much about the enemy forces, which inevitably made him a little suspicious, so he was specially taken to let the police dogs test him. And Wang Ling was not stupid. He knew what King Xiaoping was thinking, but he didn't reveal it, and they understood each other tacitly. Now that the test results have come out, King Xiaoping no longer has to guard against Wang Ling. As you said, this minecart is our only source of funds at present. If it is blown up again, our situation will be dire. It's even worse. However, the tank killers on the other side are really annoying, and the mine is relatively far away from us. If something happens, it may be too late for support. Wang Ling spread his hands and said, if we don't have enough time for support, then let soldiers garrison the mine in advance and arrange some more along the way. Once a tank killer is discovered, let the minecart hide first and use infantry to blow up the tank killer. Zhao Pingwang nodded, I have the same idea, but stationing in the mine is very dangerous. This task is entrusted to your Eagle Squad. Are you confident that you can complete it? Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 55. The mission comes so soon? Wang Ling was a little surprised. It was exactly what the instructor said. On the battlefield, there are never enough manpower. However, this was exactly what Wang Ling wanted. He smiled and said, don't worry, Brother Zhao. It's my first time here. I also need to do something to do my part for the coalition. King Xiaoping nodded and said, okay. The armed mining truck is estimated to be built before night and put into use immediately. Your task is to rush to the designated mine before dark and persist until the mining truck has mined all the minerals. It's not over until it's over. As he spoke, Zhao Pingwang directly unfolded the portable electronic map on his arm, zoomed in and marked the mine closest to the base. This is it, about a 2-hour walk. Wang Lingding looked at the portable electronic map. He was a little jealous as he looked at it. He immediately shouted in his head, Uncle Hey, why don't I have this electronic map? Uncle Hey immediately replied, this kind of thing requires a certain status in the Red Alert world to be distributed. Of course you are not qualified now. However, if you really want it, you can use 50 points to trade in advance, and I will give it to you. The map is enlarged in your mind and can be viewed at any time. No, Uncle Hey, you are such a big talker, you want me to get 50 points for an electronic map. Wang Ling was dissatisfied. Uncle Hey smiled and said, boy, is 50 points a lot for you? Don't forget that you are on the battlefield now. If you are strong enough, you can easily earn points. Wang Ling gritted his teeth and hesitated slightly, okay, I'll change it. After finishing speaking, Wang Ling's mind flashed for a moment, and then an enlarged electronic map appeared in his subconscious, showing the battlefield where Wang Ling was currently located. Later, Uncle Hey explained, this map does not exist independently. It is an expanded electronic map of your base. You can view as much of the field of view as the power of the base opens up. Wang Ling nodded silently. This setting is similar to the game. It has to be said that the coalition suffered a big loss in terms of maps. The Allies can build spy satellites and directly unfold all the maps, but the radar here of the Allied forces can only show the explored electronic map. Other unexplored areas are displayed on the electronic map as patches of black. It still needs to be manual exploration will do. The electronic map had just been displayed, and Wang Ling also took a look at it. This base should have been established a long time ago. Most areas of this battlefield have been explored, and scattered troops have been deployed in some places to form several firepower networks. Even though this base is in bad shape now, it has grown in the past after all. Most of them have sent troops to attack the Allied forces, and their base can also be seen on the electronic map. Just like in the game, the enemy base built a rift generator to artificially create an unexplored area, blocking the radar signals of the coalition forces. Wang Ling didn't find this phenomenon strange, but he noticed a very serious thing. The Allied forces on this battlefield actually had two bases distributed in different places. Emotionally, this base is now 1 against 2. No wonder he is in a slumped posture. If the command is not good, this battle will be really difficult to fight. Wang Ling. What's wrong? Do you have any questions about this mission? Wang Ling was very fast when talking to Uncle He and checking the map, but in reality he was still talking to Zhao Pingwang after all. This sudden silence and sluggishness also made Zhao Pingwang murmur. When he heard the voice, Wang Ling finally withdrew from his subconscious inspection and asked Zhao Pingwang, "Brother Zhao, besides special tanks like tank killers, are there any other special units that have appeared on the battlefield?" No wonder he asked this question. In the game, the Allied forces are also formed by several national-level forces. Each force also has its own special presence, such as giant cannons, Black Hawk fighter jets, snipers, etc. Some of them are very useful to him. The threat was too great, and Wang Ling had no choice but to guard against it. Special arms, Zhao Pingwang frowned slightly. After thinking about it for a while, he finally had the answer. As you said, it did appear. What type of military? Sniper, Zhao Pingwang replied. But this answer shocked Wang Ling. What? A sniper? Yes, what's the matter? Brother Zhao, why didn't you tell me this news in advance? If we were all infantry units, if we encountered snipers, let alone completing the mission, even we might be wiped out, Wang Ling irritable reply. King Xiaoming was also a little surprised by Wang Ling's knowledge, but Wang Ling's performance today also made him a little surprised. He just frowned and asked, "Then what do you think?" Wang Ling calmed down, thought for a moment and then said, "I need 2 Rhino tanks. This is not easy. Rhino tanks are now stationed at the base. If we send them out again, we may not have enough troops." Zhao Pingwang shook his head. But Wang Ling was dissatisfied. "Brother Zhao, you have to decide which one is more important. If a sniper hides in a multi-purpose infantry vehicle, no matter how many infantry we have, we will all be killed by it. If we die, now, who will guard the mines and mine carts? What if the tank killers come?" Well, Zhao Pingwang pondered for a while, and finally made a decision. "Okay, but I can only give you 1 Rhino tank, and the other one can be replaced by an anti-aircraft crawler vehicle." "Okay," Wang Ling smiled. With the tracked vehicle around, he didn't have to use his own legs to get on the road. After agreeing on this result, Zhao Pingwang directly summoned a Rhino tank and an anti-aircraft crawler vehicle. "I have tried my best to meet your request, which can be regarded as giving Captain Ling Fei enough face. This time please complete the mission." To put it bluntly, the reason why King Xiaoping was so polite to Wang Ling was probably because of Captain Ling Fei's letter of recommendation. Wang Ling also knew this, so he did not push for an inch, and solemnly performed a military salute. "Sir, don't worry, I promise to complete the mission." "Okay, let's go." After bidding farewell to King Xiaoping, Wang Ling looked at the Rhino tank several times, feeling a little excited in his heart. After all, this was his first time to come into contact with a tank at such a close distance. However, he quickly put away his curiosity, got into the anti-aircraft tracked vehicle, and directed the 2 tanks to the location of the Eagle team. It has to be said that the tracked vehicle is indeed very fast. Wang Ling only felt that the tracked vehicle had stopped not long after he stepped off. It took some time after he stepped off before the Rhino tank arrived. As for the members of the Eagle squad, when they saw these 2 tanks, they all became confused. "Captain, what's going on with these 2 tanks?" Wang Ling replied with a smile, "From today on, they are also members of our Eagle squad." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 56. My dear. Hearing what Wang Ling said, everyone in the Eagle squad was surprised and stepped forward to observe the 2 tanks. This is the first time such a member appears in the Eagle squad. "Captain, you are so awesome." Yes, the captain is so proud that he got these things on the first day he came to Eagle squad. Seeing their novel looks and listening to their conversation, Wang Ling couldn't help but laugh. The one who is proud of Wang Ling is not him, but Captain Ling Fei. Prince Xiaoping takes such good care of Wang Ling. To put it bluntly, it is because of Captain Ling Fei's letter of recommendation. When he first heard that he would enter the battlefield early, Wang Ling complained, but now that he had tasted the benefits, Wang Ling understood how good Captain Ling Fei was to him. After waiting for the members of the Eagle team to observe for a while, Wang Ling coughed twice and interrupted them, "Don't be too happy just yet. I spent a lot of effort to get the Rhino tanks and anti-aircraft crawlers, and the arrival of these 2 tanks is not without cost. We have a mission." As soon as they heard about the mission, the members of the Eagle squad straightened up and listened carefully. Wang Ling took the opportunity to tell them the content of the mission in detail. After hearing about this mission, many people in the Eagle squad had bitter looks on their faces. Even Sun De still sighed, "Let me just say, how can we still be assigned tanks with the current situation of the base? Emotions are so difficult. The mission is waiting for us." Wang Ling smiled and said, "Stop complaining, what's the use? This is a battlefield. As a soldier, a warrior, naturally you must be ready to perform various arduous tasks at any time, and be ready to charge and sacrifice at any time. The base currently, I think you can also notice that the situation is not ideal, and there is a shortage of funds. The superiors sent us to guard the mine. This is their trust in us. The success or failure of our mission can be said to be directly related to the future of the camp and develop." After finishing speaking, Wang Ling sighed silently in his heart, not to mention how the soldiers were doing. In the past, these words and thoughts were basically instilled in them by the instructors and Captain Ling Fei, but now it was Wang Ling's turn to advise his soldiers. This contrast and change was really embarrassing. These words came to Wang Ling's mind at the last moment. Regardless of whether they were inspiring or not, he was already trying his best. As for the soldiers, after hearing this, their faces finally returned to normal, and some of them even clenched their fists, looking very motivated. However, the mission goal is to reach the designated mine before dark, and it is still morning. Wang Ling and the others are not in a hurry, so they are not in a hurry. Although Wang Ling is the captain of the Eagle squad, he is new here and is not familiar with everyone here. It is impossible to remember all the names in one day, so he simply followed the method in the barracks, and everyone was numbered. Let's memorize the names and other things slowly later. After they introduced each other and got to know each other, Team Eagle took a short break and it was time for lunch. To be honest, the lunch on the troops was not even as good as in the barracks. Wang Ling made do with some food and brought enough portable food such as dried meat. After a period of rest, the Eagle team finally set off for the mine. There is an advantage to replacing a Rhino tank with an anti-aircraft crawler vehicle. Wang Ling directly pulled 4 people, including Sun De, into the car and rushed to the mine one step ahead. The road section that originally took 2 hours to travel, Wang Ling however, it only took Ling and the 5 people more than 10 minutes. After getting off the car, Wang Ling didn't let the tracked vehicle sit idle. He continued to turn around and pick up other members of the Eagle team halfway, which would save some manpower. This means that you can't speak on the tracked vehicle, otherwise you might have the idea of swearing in front of such a superior officer. During this period, Wang Ling and the 5 of them were not idle and began to survey the mine. In the simulated game world, many settings are also gamified. For example, the current mine is similar to the one in the game. The ground is covered with golden minerals, and there is a mine in the center. The machine will dig out and throw out some minerals from time to time. Surrounding the mine is a stretch of rolling hills, with many undulating hills seeming to form a natural barrier. Seeing the hilly terrain, Wang Ling felt a little relieved. This place was not an open plain after all, and it might be possible to gain some geographical advantages when encountering an enemy attack. While they were observing, the Rhino tank of the Eagle team finally arrived, and was immediately placed under a hill by Wang Ling. Subsequently, The second trip of the anti-aircraft crawler vehicle also came here, dropped off 5 conscripts and then continued back to carry other members of the Eagle team on the way. Looking at the busy tracked vehicles, Wang Ling couldn't help but laugh. With the help of this thing, they really saved a lot of effort. Then, nearly an hour later, all members of the Eagle team were finally transported to the mine. This time was much faster than the expected 2 hours. Now that everything was in place, Wang Ling arranged the garrison personnel according to the positions he had found before. After working hard for a while, he was satisfied. The rest of the time was spent waiting for the arrival of the armed mining truck at night. On the battlefield, the battle was changing rapidly, but enemies did not arrive every moment. During the waiting time, after a tense period of time, the Eagle squadron seemed a little bored. A member waiting for the shift to change simply pulled Wang Ling and asked, "Captain, tell me, how did you kill 16 enemies by yourself?" More than 1 or 2 people were interested in this kind of question. After hearing it, many people came together and wanted to hear about the past, even Sun Dehu was no exception. Wang Ling first subconsciously checked the electronic map and found no traces of enemy troops within his field of vision. Then he felt relieved and simply continued to talk patiently. "Actually, I was able to achieve that feat back then, mainly because of the favorable location. We often train in that valley and are already familiar with it." In Wang Ling's impression, military officers are relatively serious and strict with their subordinates. However, it is the first time for Wang Ling to serve as a captain and he is not used to being so strict. Relatively speaking, he is relatively close to his subordinates. Wang Ling didn't want to show off what happened in the barracks, but since he was asked about it, he didn't want to hide it. It took him a long time to kill 16 people by himself. The black soldier narrated the whole story, and the members of the Eagle squad were all in high spirits, and some were even gearing up, as if they also wanted to have such an experience. However, Sun Dehu was a little strange. He was different from everyone else. After hearing this, he actually asked a very strange question, "Captain, what do you think, if I were in your position, relying on the geographical advantage, can you solve those mysterious soldiers?" Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 57. Although Sun Dehu is a tough guy, he is actually very smart. He is clearly deliberately trying to create problems for Wang Ling. This problem is not as simple as it seems. If Wang Ling said he couldn't, it would be a bit of a blow to the morale of the Eagle squad. But on the other hand, if possible, it would comply with Sun Dehu's wishes, but Wang Ling felt that it was against his will. To be fair, if it were a real battlefield, Wang Ling would not be able to achieve such results under the same circumstances. It can be said that he relied entirely on the Red Alert world and had no scruples at all when he started. If it were Sun Dehu, as a new recruit, he could not dare to challenge that group of mysterious soldiers like Wang Ling. However, Wang Ling was not so realistic and did not give a direct answer. After thinking about it for a while, he replied, "I don't know that. I have to ask you. Under the same situation, can you quickly get rid of the fear in your heart? Can it be effective? Are you taking advantage of the terrain? Are you careful enough in your actions? If you can do that, then I won't doubt that you will deal with all the enemies by yourself." Sun Dehu was defeated by Wang Ling and was instantly stuck, unable to speak. Then, another person asked, Captain, tell me, how did you defeat 99 opponents by yourself in the arena competition?" "Yes, this achievement is simply more brilliant and bloody than killing 16 mysterious enemies." "Tell me about it, Captain." When the others heard this, they immediately became energetic and grabbed Wang Ling to continue listening. But Wang Ling didn't have the patience to continue telling the story, and waved his hand. "Well, there's nothing to say. The ring competition is just fighting in the ring. Anyway, we have some troubles with the guys from the first company, so I'll take the opportunity to beat them up. It's really in line with your nature to take the opportunity to beat up their captain. The others didn't say anything, but Sun Dehu couldn't help but speak. When you first met us, did you want to take the opportunity to beat us up? This Wang Ling blushed. To be honest, he really had this idea at that time. However, then his face changed again, and he deliberately tensed up and reprimanded, "It's not that you are deliberately trying to find trouble for me, otherwise you think I want to fight with you. Okay, stop talking nonsense, it's almost time to change the guard. Come on, cheer up, enemies may come here at any time." Yes. Wang Ling had already said that, and it was no longer easy for the others to continue asking questions. After answering, they simply dispersed. The rest of the time was spent waiting. About a few hours later, the sky was getting a little later in the red alert world. At this time, the armed mining truck they had been waiting for finally arrived at the mine. The coalition's armed mining vehicles have very thick armor, and their resistance to beating is about 2.5 times that of Rhino tanks. They are also equipped with light machine guns on the roof, which almost has the advantage of crushing ordinary infantry units. But when facing tanks, the advantage is not so obvious. This minecart is currently a treasure for the base. Wang Ling and the others do not dare to be careless at all. They are all on alert to prevent tank killers from suddenly coming. While on alert, Wang Ling also took a special look back. The mining method of this armed mining vehicle is somewhat different from the game interface. In the front of the mine vehicle there are concave tools specifically for collecting minerals, and behind it there are crushers and gear conveyors to crush the collected minerals and then load them. It is stored in the carriage. When it is full, it will be returned to the base and sent to the ore refinery to be converted into funds. The operation of a coalition base requires a huge amount of funds, and a single mining truck cannot last long. But no matter how terrifying the amount of funds is, it still requires such transportation to accumulate. During this period, guarding the mine and protecting the safety of the mine cars has become the top priority. Wang Ling and the others knew the importance of this task and could not relax at all. Wang Ling even kept an eye on the electronic map to prevent enemy sneak attacks. However, the enemy force is not omnipotent. There was no movement at all during this period. Even though the armed mining truck filled the entire carriage and left here, no enemy signs appeared on the map. Wang Ling felt relieved. There is currently only one mining truck in the entire base. Naturally, there is no time for rest. After this transportation was completed, the second trip quickly started. Under Wang Ling's and others' vigilance, they quickly filled the entire carriage and left. After going back and forth, the members of the Eagle team gradually relaxed their vigilance. Due to the time, Wang Ling gradually became a little sleepy, so he simply followed the order arranged in advance and wanted to rest for the night in shifts. But at this moment, boom! In the distance, a gunshot suddenly sounded. At the same time, a member of the Eagle team who was on duty fell down without making any sound. Not to mention the rest of the Eagle team, even Wang Ling was startled by this sudden change. He quickly looked in the direction of the sound source, but because the distance was too far, he couldn't see anything. Boom! Taking advantage of this time, the opponent had already fired a second shot, and the second member of the Eagle squad immediately fell down and died. Seeing his subordinates dying in battle, Wang Ling was almost anxious. He quickly enlarged the electronic map from his subconscious and showed the video state. Only then did he see that there was a group of people far away from them. A multifunctional infantry vehicle, and its level has reached the level of an elite soldier. This multifunctional infantry vehicle is an anti-aircraft vehicle corresponding to the Allied Air Defense Tracked Vehicle. It moves very fast, but has poor armor and health, similar to the anti-aircraft tracked vehicle. It can launch anti-aircraft missiles when empty, and can attack both air targets and ground troops. It is very practical. Compared with the prevention and control crawler vehicle, This kind of vehicle carries a smaller number and can only carry one person at a time. However, its abnormality is that its function can change according to the different types of troops loaded. For example, if you load an engineer, it can be transformed into a mobile vehicle repair shop. If you load infantry, your attack method will change to machine gun fire. If you load a space warrior, your attack method will also change to a space-time light wave, etc. Now, this multifunctional infantry vehicle is loaded with, presumably, snipers. No wonder Wang Ling hadn't noticed before that feelings quickly approached the battlefield with the mobility of the infantry vehicle. Knowing what the enemy was, Wang Ling stared anxiously and quickly shouted, "Quick, hide quickly, there is a sniper, hide behind the bunker." When the others heard this, they didn't dare to delay and started running in a hurry. The speed was so fast that they seemed to just hate their parents for having two legs. But even so, the infantry vehicle loaded with snipers took the opportunity to kill two more Eagle Squad soldiers. Seeing the Eagle Squad hiding, the infantry vehicle was not happy and quickly approached the mine. It seemed that it wanted to completely wipe out the Eagle Squad. However, Wang Ling had already thought of the situation and was already on guard. He took advantage of this moment and shouted, "Rhino tank, why are you hiding? It can't beat you. Go up and blow it up, got it?" Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 58. Wang Ling is now very glad that he and Zhao Pluto brought the Rhino tank during the day. In this situation, the Rhino tank is their only guarantee. Although the Rhino tank is a tank unit, it is also a separate unit and life form after being gamified. After hearing Wang Ling's order, it rushed towards the multifunctional infantry vehicle without hesitation. The Rhino tank was not too fast, but the infantry vehicle was fast. The two sides were heading towards each other and soon bumped into each other. As a result, the Rhino tank hit the head with a cannon, knocking out part of the infantry vehicle's health. After being attacked, the infantry vehicle no longer paid attention to the other infantry units of the Eagle Squadron. Instead, it used a sniper rifle to fight the Rhino tank. Every time a shot hit the Rhino tank, some sparks would be wiped out, but the blood of the Rhino tank, the volume barely moves. In reality, Wang Ling is a veteran otaku. He has played the game Red Alert too many times, especially against the computer, so he has full experience. It can be said that the enemy units controlled by these computer programs are basically stubborn. During the march, they will beat whoever attacks them, regardless of whether they can beat them or not. In short, they will fight to the death. For example, in the current situation, a multi-purpose infantry vehicle loaded with snipers could have easily wiped out all the infantry units of the Eagle Squad, but because the Rhino tank provoked it, it ended up fighting with the Rhino tank. Forget about the infantry units that can be killed easily. The Rhino tank didn't hold back, firing one shot after another. Each shot that landed on the infantry vehicle would knock out a considerable part of its health, which was a blast. But looking at the infantry vehicles, they had almost no resistance. To put it bluntly, it was also because of the stubbornness of this infantry vehicle. When this kind of multifunctional infantry vehicle has no level, its attack power is average, and it is even worse at fighting tanks. But once it is upgraded to the level of a 3-star elite soldier, it will be like a carp jumping over a dragon's gate, with that kind of explosive attack. The power is really terrifying. A normal rhinoceros tank might not be able to defeat it. But who made this Samsung multi-purpose infantry vehicle refuse to let out the sniper? If you always use a sniper rifle to hit a tank, the damage will be negligible. Boom. 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 This is also convenient for the Rhino tank. After a few consecutive shots, the infantry vehicle has begun to smoke and its health has turned red. 2 more shots went down, and they exploded, revealing the sniper inside, and then they fired without fail. This sniper was also stubborn. Even the infantry vehicles were blown up, but he was still fighting against the Rhino tanks. When the Rhino tank has no levels, its attack power against infantry units is really not very good. It would be a bit time-consuming to rely on it alone. Wang Ling had been observing this process with his head raised. When he saw this, he finally couldn't hold it any longer, so he pulled out the dagger he carried with him and touched it quietly. "Captain, it's dangerous." The other members of the Eagle Squad were all shocked when they saw what Wang Ling did. But Wang Ling didn't pay attention at all, and quickly moved forward close to the hill. When the sniper still had half of his health, he had already touched the front of him. He shouted to stop the Rhino tank, but he kicked the sniper away with one kick. With the sniper rifle in his hand, he turned around and kicked the sniper over again, then jumped on him and used a dagger to attack randomly. In a few breaths, the sniper was covered with bruises. When entering the battlefield, everything is gamified. Ordinary conscripts can only use Babisha submachine guns to fight the enemy, but Wang Ling is an exception. This is a big living person, and he will use everything that can be used. Now, because of the deaths of several members of the Eagle Squad, Wang Ling was also furious. He refused to use a gun and had to use a dagger to relieve his anger. After the sniper was completely disabled, Wang Ling turned the dagger and stabbed the sniper in the throat. This time he was finally going to kill him. However, just as he was about to pierce the sniper's throat, his dagger suddenly stopped. Although this is the world of Red Alert, everything is too real after all. In the past, he used guns to shoot black soldiers in the barracks, but now he actually uses daggers to assassinate them at close range. Wang Ling still feels a little burdened. Snort. He stopped here, but the sniper didn't give up yet. He grabbed a stone and tried to hit Wang Ling on the head with his backhand. But Wang Ling blocked the stone with one hand and directly cut the sniper's hand tendon with the other hand. Then he finally stopped hesitating and stabbed the dagger directly into the sniper's throat. After receiving a fatal attack, all the blood bars on the sniper's hand disappeared immediately, and after 2 struggles, there was no movement at all. The gamified snipers, after death, are similar to those in the game. They quickly turn into a pile of dead bones and then gradually disappear. When Wang Ling saw this scene, the remaining psychological burden finally disappeared. To put it bluntly, everything here is just a game. After taking a breath, Wang Ling stood up and turned around to pick up the sniper's rifle, but as soon as he turned around, the sniper rifle gradually disappeared. Hey, it's interesting. When a person dies, he doesn't even leave his equipment behind. Wang Ling shook his head in confusion. And just after he finished teasing, he suddenly discovered in his subconscious that the 1-star veteran mark on his head suddenly increased by 2, and he was officially promoted to a 3-star elite soldier. After all, snipers are also a special unit of the Allied forces. Killing this unit will increase your experience by more than 1.5 stars. When he was promoted to a 1-star veteran, Wang Ling had a feeling of comprehensive improvement, and this time was no exception. Successfully promoted to a 3-star soldier, Wang Ling felt as if he had browsed through the experience book in his mind. All combat skills and abilities were further improved. Even the firearms he carried were greatly enhanced. A feeling of being reborn, as if shining brightly on the battlefield. He joined the battlefield from the barracks in advance as a 1-star veteran. Now he has been successfully promoted to a 3-star elite soldier in less than a day from the battlefield. This speed is so fast that it is unprecedented among all conscripts. Well, even Wang Ling himself was a little surprised. Wang Ling's level change can also be observed by other members of the Eagle Squad. Coupled with his successful victory over the enemy, everyone is now beaming with joy. Captain, congratulations on your promotion. 3-star elite soldier. This is my first day on the battlefield and I have been promoted to elite soldier. Captain, you are awesome. Many members of the Eagle Squad were congratulating each other, including Sun Dehua. Captain, this time, I'm really convinced. Wang Ling didn't find it strange that other people congratulated him, but it was Sun De who made him feel a little more interested. He asked, "Why, didn't I defeat you during the day?" Sun De smiled, "During the day, I was convinced on the surface. Now, I am convinced on the inside." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 59. This Sun De, to put it bluntly, is a person who refuses to accept weakness. After all, he has been robbed of his position. Of course, he cannot accept it so quickly. During the day, it was with the support of Second Lieutenant Zhao Mingwang that he reluctantly gave up. Otherwise, no matter how brilliant Wang Ling's performance was, he would not be convinced for a while. But now, on the same battlefield, Wang Ling was able to quickly think of ways to deal with the enemy, and was finally promoted to a 3-star elite soldier by killing a sniper. Seeing this kind of achievement with his own eyes, no matter how arrogant he was, and had to be convinced. Wang Ling also grinned and smiled, then patted Sun De on the shoulder without saying anything else. At this moment, Lieutenant Zhao Pingguang's voice came over the radio, "Wang Ling, great job. You've only been on the battlefield for less than a day, 3-star elite soldier, tisk tisk." Wang Ling's electronic map was originally designed to expand the base, so you can naturally see the battle situation just now in the base. Hearing the praise, Wang Ling rubbed the tip of his nose and said braggingly, "How about it, Brother Zhao, the Rhino tank I asked you for today was not in vain, right?" "Haha, I didn't ask for it in vain, I didn't ask for it in vain, a rhinoceros tank with no level, in the end it actually killed a 3-star multi-purpose infantry vehicle, not bad." Zhao Pingwang was obviously in a good mood. Wang Ling had just been promoted and was now enjoying himself. He smiled and said, "Brother Zhao, this is just the beginning. There are still many contributions we can make. You kid, you have just been promoted and you are going to raise your tail after just a few compliments." Zhao Pingwang seemed to be a little bit dumbfounded. "Okay, I won't talk nonsense to you, just concentrate on the mission." "Yes, sir," Wang Ling responded and then ended the call. Regardless of the fact that the enemy attacking Eagle Squadron was able to quickly counter-attack the enemy, this was actually because Wang Ling knew the habits of the opponent's troops. Otherwise, if someone else had been in command, the infantry unit of the Eagle Squadron might have been dead by now. This is just a sniper and a multi-purpose infantry vehicle from the enemy. Facing two enemy forces, Wang Ling and the others can't be said to be safe at all now. The original plan was to sleep in 2 shifts, but after the enemy attack, Wang Ling changed his mind temporarily and switched to 3 shifts, and each person on duty must ensure to hide behind the hills to prevent another sniper appears. After the arrangements were made, Wang Ling returned to his original position. Not far away from him, there should have been the corpses of several members of the Eagle Squad. However, in this game-like world, those corpses had long since turned into withered bones and gradually disappeared. Although the world of Red Alert is realistic, to put it bluntly, the Allies, coalition forces, and even the members of the Eagle Squad are just virtual programs. Thinking of this, Wang Ling was not as angry as before. He shook his head, sat behind a small hill and closed his eyes. In his mind, he contacted Uncle Hay and returned to the transfer station of the different dimensional system. After staying in the Red Alert world for 2 days, it was time for Wang Ling to return to the real world to buffer and rest for a day. In the transfer station, Uncle Hay also had a smile on his face. "Boy, I thought you would be too scared to move on the real battlefield, but I didn't expect you to respond to emergencies so quickly and with such sharp strikes." Wang Ling glared at him. "Uncle Hay, why is your artificial intelligence so smart? Is it because you look down on me?" Uncle Hay laughed. "No, I'm not looking down on you, I'm just talking about normal people's psychology. Walking out of the barracks so long in advance, it stands to reason that you should be full of fear and apprehension about the battlefield, but you kid, you just don't play according to common sense. Wang Ling spread his hands. In the game world, what is there to be afraid of? Uncle He did not answer the question again. Instead, he remained silent for a while and started to make statistics. I told you before that the points of enemies killed by your subordinates will also be counted on your head. Tonight, if you destroy a 3-star multi-purpose infantry vehicle, you will get 40 points, and if you kill an unleveled special sniper, you will get 20 points. Add to that the survival points accumulated before, minus the 50 points you will receive for redeeming the electronic map today. Points, you now have a total of 254 points remaining. So much. It's been a while since I counted the points. Wang Ling was a little surprised when he heard this number today. Wang Ling generally didn't pay much attention to the detailed figures mentioned by Uncle He. He just noticed one point. In the Red Alert world, he only blew up an infantry vehicle and killed a sniper with the Eagle Squad. There are actually 60 points. This battlefield is indeed a treasure trove for him to gain points. After thinking about it, Wang Ling smiled. Uncle He, let's put it together and convert the 4 points into cash. Normally, Uncle He is used to Wang Ling's ping, and has no hesitation in exchanging cash, but today he gave a separate reminder. Are you sure? If you lose those 4 points, it will be 205. This number, in your opinion, this world doesn't seem very nice, does it? Wang Ling was speechless for a while, and then said after a while, you know so much, I almost forgot about it. Anyway, there is no need to use money now, so let's save it first. Speaking of this, Wang Ling suddenly remembered something. Hey, by the way, Uncle He, I have exchanged the basic exchange, currency exchange, and enhancers. What else can be exchanged for the rest? Uncle He replied, the redemption settings of the different dimensional system do not have as many fancy items as you think. They are all based on practicality. That's all the basic redemption. If you want more redemption options, accumulate points as soon as possible. Unlock the intermediate exchange. What's in the intermediate exchange? There should be intermediate enhancers, right? Wang Ling was still asking. Wang Ling is looking forward to this intermediate physical fitness enhancer. After all, a basic one has already greatly strengthened him to the current level. So what does the intermediate one look like? What about advanced ones? But on this question, Uncle He pretended to be mysterious. I don't have the authority to tell you this. Only after you meet the conditions and unlock the intermediate exchange can I introduce it to you in detail. Wang Ling couldn't help but rolled his eyes. Uncle He, why does your artificial intelligence have such low authority? You don't have permission to do this, and you don't have permission to do that. Are you still a butler? What are the conditions for unlocking this intermediate exchange? You're not going to say you don't have permission. Uncle He felt helpless for a while, spread his hands, and then explained, you can't blame me, the system is set up like this, I can't overstep my authority. As for unlocking the intermediate exchange, it's easy, you only need to accumulate a total of 10,000 points. It will be unlocked automatically, and those points that have been used will also be included. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 60. 10,000 points. Is this easy? Then I have to accumulate it for years and years. Wang Ling became anxious. But Uncle He said, is it difficult to accumulate 10,000 points on the battlefield? Today you just killed an infantry vehicle and a sniper, and you already have 60 points. According to this progress, 10,000 points are also it's just a matter of time. Okay, what do you say? Who made you the housekeeper? Now that he had asked about it, Wang Ling didn't want to stay here any longer. He greeted Uncle Hay and went back to the real dormitory. The flow of time in the red alert world is 10 times faster than in reality. This time, Wang Ling stayed in the red alert world for 2 consecutive days. In reality, he also spent nearly 5 hours, and it was already late at night. Wang Ling raised his head, glanced at the empty dormitory, sighed helplessly, turned around, closed his eyes and fell asleep. In the early morning of the next day, Wang Ling did not sleep in. He still got up early and ran on the rubber track on the playground. His physical energy was exhausted. After he collapsed, he was still training frantically until he was too tired to move. Then he stopped and lay on the playground to rest for more than half an hour. After recovering some physical strength, he got up and went to the cafeteria to eat something. Then, a day of boring life begins. During this day, Wang Ling hid in the dormitory, slept, played games, or played with his mobile phone. He went to the teaching building during class time and the canteen during mealtime. It soon came to night out of boredom. Although he had exhausted his physical energy in the early morning, his current physical recovery ability was too strong. After resting for a day, he had fully recovered in the evening, and then he couldn't wait to contact Uncle Hay and enter the world of Red Alert. Entering the world of Red Alert again, the time is connected with the time when they left last time. All members of the Eagle team hid in safe locations, leaving some on guard while others were asleep. Wang Ling did not fall asleep immediately. He leaned on the hills and froze for a while. It was not until the third armed mining truck arrived and started working that he felt sleepy and fell asleep. The world of Red Alert at night is relatively quiet, the surroundings are quiet, and everything seems to have fallen into a deep sleep. Only the armed mining vehicle was still working conscientiously to provide basic support funds for the coalition base. This night, whether in reality or in the Red Alert world, Wang Ling slept in the wild for the first time, and he leaned directly on a hill. It was indeed difficult to fall asleep at first, and his body always felt uncomfortable. However, as time went by and he kept leaning here, he gradually got used to it and gradually fell asleep. Although he was on the battlefield, Wang Ling slept deeply and soundly this time. He slept for 5 or 6 hours before he was woken up. It was their turn for the third shift of the Eagle team. Although Wang Ling was the captain, he did not give himself this privilege. He also had the privilege of being on duty. After being woken up, he stretched and yawned, and took some team members to replace the previous round of duty. Team members. After such a long time, the armed mining truck is still working tirelessly, constantly mining ore. This is the unknown number of times it has transported the minerals. The minerals in the entire mine have been reduced by about 10%. One of the quantities. With so much ore being sent to the refinery, the tight financial situation in this base must have been temporarily alleviated. However, this is not enough. The operation and development of a base requires a huge amount of funds, and these minerals are still far from enough. During the rotation, the other team members were hiding behind the hill, staring in all directions, but Wang Ling seemed a little lazy. He just changed his position and continued to sit against the hill. This is not because he is lazy. After all, the visual distance at night is really limited. He only relies on naked eyes to observe, and he may have to be touched by the enemy to see it. Wang Ling is now subconsciously using electronic maps to observe the enemy's movements. There are 2 Allied bases on this battlefield, occupying the terrain in 2 directions respectively. They use crack generators to block the radar signals of the Allied forces. Wang Ling cannot see what is going on inside. However, judging from the situation outside the black area, the 2 Allied bases did not seem to be taking any action, as if they did not want to make a sneak attack here for the time being. Although there are some blue light spots moving quickly on the electronic map, when you zoom in and open the video, you will see that they are not armed forces, but Allied mining vehicles. Like the Alliance's armed mining vehicles, The Allies also have a specialized vehicle called the Overtime Mining Vehicle. This kind of minecart has extremely high armor and health. It is similar to an armed mining cart, but it moves faster. It can even use the time travel movement technology every time it returns to the refinery to return in an instant, improving the efficiency of transporting mineral deposits. Very high. But in comparison, the disadvantages are also obvious. This kind of vehicle has almost no attack power and does not have any weapons and equipment. It can only rely on its own vehicle advantages to collide and crush some ordinary soldiers. If you encounter something that cannot be crushed, or are attacked by a tank, there is only one way to escape. After observing for a while, Wang Ling felt a little bored, so he simply adjusted the electronic map back to normal mode and surveyed the entire battlefield. Taking advantage of the fact that there are no enemies attacking, Wang Ling also checked the battlefield specifically to find 1 or 2 oil production plants. As long as he uses engineers to occupy the oil production plants and continue to extract oil, the base's capital storage will continue to increase. However, after observing it, Wang Ling was disappointed. This battlefield was relatively barren, with only a few mines and no oil production plants found. At least, not in the visible range on the map. They had no choice but to rely on mining trucks to transport them over and over again. This night was quite peaceful. The Allied forces did not invade. It was already dawn during the shift. At breakfast time, Wang Ling and the others were taking turns eating, and while they were eating canned food, 2 armed mining trucks appeared outside the mine. After a whole night of transportation, the coalition base finally had some storage, and the second mine cart had been produced. Wang Ling smiled and shook his head. They were not the only ones who were busy. The base was not idle either. After laughing, Wang Ling was about to finish the remaining food so that he could continue on duty, but at this time, Wang Ling was suddenly stunned. Because, he accidentally observed the electronic map and discovered that 5 blue light spots appeared one after another in one of the Allied bases, heading straight in their direction. Taking a closer look, it turned out to be 5 tank killers, forming a long snake and rushing out of the base. After a full night, these tank killers finally made some movement.